Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Learning with Leslie. My name is Leslie Samuel, and yes, this episode started a little different. Whenever you hit play on this podcast and it starts without the big intro with the music and all that good stuff, you know it's going to be something a little different. And that is the case today. I have a title for the episode. The title for this episode is, wait, let me look at it because this is all I got. I put my business before my family. That is the title. I was gonna, come up with a detailed outline and all that good stuff. But then I said, you know what? Let's not do that for this episode. Instead, let me just do this as if I'm sitting down with a friend having a conversation. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do. It's gonna be like you and I are in a room and we're just having a chat. The only difference is you can't you can't talk back to me. Well, no, technically you can because you can come to iamlesliesamuel.com/403. That's the link to this video, the video of this episode on YouTube, and you can leave your thoughts there. And I would absolutely love that. But we're going to do things a little different for this episode. And I believe it's going to be very beneficial. All right? So you're my bestie for this episode. We just chilling and we just talking about this topic. I'm not talking about you. I put my business before my family. Now, if you're watching this video on the day that it goes live, or you're listening to the podcast, the audio version on the day that it goes live, Merry Christmas, because this is going live on Christmas Day. If you're watching it and you speak Spanish, Feliz Navidad. If you're watching it and you speak Dutch, Vrolijk Kerstfeest. If you speak French, Joyeux Noël. If you speak another language, I got nothing. But I just want to wish you all the best. It's the holiday season. New Year is coming up, and there's so much going on. I'm actually right now, not as I'm recording this because I pre-recorded it, I'm in the Bahamas with my family. We're on Nassau, and we're having a good time. I'm just saying that in advance. But yeah, I hope you have an amazing time. I hope you get to spend some time with family and friends and all that good stuff. And even if you don't, I just hope you enjoy your time right now. And if you're not, I hope it gets better. So we got to talk about this topic because it's something that's near and dear to my heart. And it's based on my experiences and stuff that I've done. And I don't know where it's going to go, but we're going to see where it's going to go. Now, yes, this is a different episode, but quite frankly, I still got to pay the bills. So I got to let you know that this episode, that's an interesting way to introduce a sponsor, right? I still got to pay the bills, but it's the reality, right? I still got to feed my family and all of that good stuff. But this episode is brought to you by Ecamm Live. And man, I'm so grateful to Ecamm Live, not just for sponsoring this podcast to make this possible, but I was just recently evaluating my time, and I was evaluating. I keep track of all of my time, and as I look back at 2023, the number one area that I spent the most time on was editing videos. I am not being paid as a video editor, but that's where I spent the bulk of my time, editing videos. That time could be spent doing so many other things that are more valuable, that I provide more value in those areas than editing videos. So I've determined that I need to stop doing that and find ways to use that time to do things that are going to make me more productive. And one of the ways that I'm doing that is by using Ecamm Live. Because yes, I'm switching cameras, I have multiple scenes, I'm bringing stuff up on the screen, but I'm not doing that in post. I'm not editing after the fact. When I am done talking to you right now, I am done with this podcast. And that's a beautiful thing. Ecamm Live allows me to do that. So if you are like me and you create video content, you post it online, you have a Mac, that's the key because it's Mac only, and you want to save time editing and you want to still be able to produce a professional video production, check out Ecamm Live, ecamm.com/Leslie. And if you use the promo code Leslie, it's going to save you 15%. So check them out. All right. Now that we're done with that, I want to tell you a few stories. Story number one. I started my business back in 2008. And when I started my business, I was so excited. Man, listen, it was an exciting new world. I was creating content, I was putting it on the internet, it was reaching people, and that was allowing me to build a business. The first thing that I did was called Freebie Trading, and I talk about this often. Is those websites where you sign up and you complete offers, and you get other people to complete offers, and you get like a free TV. You get a free. I got a free iPod Touch at the time because iPhones weren't around yet, or were they? I don't know, but whether they were or not, I got an iPod Touch, a 42-inch flat screen TV, but I also was able to do it in a way where I was able to make money. And I remember I was engaging in these online forums and creating content in the forums to attract people, and it was going well. That first year I made $28,000, which to me, for something that I was doing on the side, that was amazing. But I was learning about something new, and I had a full-time job. I was a high school science and math teacher at a boarding academy. So I was working full-time. Quite frankly, I was working more than full-time because we lived on the campus. The students lived on the campus during the school year, and we were their teachers, but then we were like supervision after school and on the weekends and all that stuff. So it was really intense. And then I started this business, and I had to do that around everything else that I had to do on my job and in my life. And it got hectic, man. It got so hectic. Listen, it got so hectic. Just to give you an idea of how hectic it was, I would wake up in the morning and I would start to work on my business. And then I would get ready to go to work. And I'd go to work. And then when I have a break at work, I would work on my business. And then I would continue working. And then after work, I would come home and then I would work on my business. And I would do that until it's time to go to bed. In addition to like preparing for classes and so on when I was doing that as well. And then I'd go to bed. And then I'd wake up and do the same thing again. It was so intense that I can remember days where I'm working and I need to use the restroom, but I'm like, but I got so much to do. I don't want to get up and go to use the restroom. And then I'd run quick to use the restroom, come back really quick. I'd get my food, I'd bring it to my computer, and I'd be working and working and working. I took a break from working on my business when I had to go to work. And then I took a break from work to work on my business. And that was my entire life for a period of time. Now, we didn't have kids at that time, but you know what I did have? I was married, and I was hardly present. Like, I wasn't around. Yes, maybe I'm physically around, but I wasn't around. And I justified it in my mind because I was trying to build something. I was trying to build something. And I knew in my mind that eventually this thing that I would build, that I was building, would make it so that our lives could be different. I, rem- I remember one thing that happened, and this was a good thing, right? So my business is starting to make some money. And yeah, my wife knew I was doing this stuff and she was supportive and all that stuff, but there was no real practical way that we were benefiting from the business, because I'd make money and then I'd use that money to do more. And then, yeah, if some money was coming into my pockets, but not that much. And I remember once for her birthday, I bought a living room set, and that was like the first big thing where it became real, like, oh shoot, this business, you're actually making some money. Oh. And she was excited, I was excited, and so on. But quite frankly, there was a lot of neglect there. Let's fast forward a few years. Um, I got a different job, and now I'm a university professor. I'm a university professor. My wife is at home, and she's actually going back to school to finish her master's degree and all that stuff. And then eventually we decide, all right, it's time to start having kids. Well, the first kid. So we got pregnant. I can't say my wife got pregnant because she instructed me that we were both getting pregnant. Uh, so we got pregnant and we had our son Noah. And I was teaching and I was working on my business. And it was the same kind of a situation. Like, I'm working on my business when I'm not teaching. When I'm not teaching, I'm working on my business. But now we have a son. Now it's a little different. When our son was born, I took off 2 weeks. That's what was allowed. And I was with my family. And then 2 weeks were over and I was gone, dog. I was gone. I was back to working. And it's a different situation there because I'm working. My wife was no longer working. So I felt the pressure of having to provide at a different level because now it's just me that's providing financially. So I had to work, and I had to work on my business in my mind, and I had to do it the way that I was doing it. Then my wife got, not my wife, my mother got sick. Um, um, and that was rough because she got sick with breast cancer and she had to go to Colombia. This is all going somewhere, I hope. We'll see, because I know I have an outline, but I believe it's going to go somewhere and it's going to be significant. My mom got sick and I left for a little while to be with her and support her and all of that. But then I, knowing that I neglected my wife for the time that I neglected my wife, and now I had a son, and I was hardly around, and I felt as if my wife was a single mom, because yeah, I was physically around sometimes, but not really helping out because I was so focused on growing this business. And now my mom is ill, and I was able to be there for a little bit, but I couldn't be there the way that I wanted to be there. It's like everything was just building up. It was building up to the point where I am super frustrated because neglecting the people close to me, that's not natural for me. That doesn't feel good. And I always said in my mind that I would never be that person. But that's exactly what I was doing. So my actions weren't lining up with what I told myself. And quite frankly, if you want to see what someone's priorities are, you look at what they're doing. And if you, not what they say, you look at what they're doing, where they're spending their time, where they're spending their money, where they're investing. That's what they find valuable. And my actions were showing that what was valuable to me was work and business. that did not feel right, man. It really didn't feel right because it was so not who I wanted to be. So I remember having a conversation with my wife, and we decided. She said, I told her, like, this is too much. I'm doing my business. I'm doing my job. My job is intense. My business is intense. I I'm not there for you. I'm not there for Noah. And it doesn't feel right. Something has to change. Either I have to leave my business or I have to leave my job. I don't want to leave my business because it's having an impact. I don't want to leave my job because I love it. Really and truly, in the back of my mind, I wanted permission to leave my business, leave my job, even though it was the dream job that I always wanted. And I remember my wife saying, I think you should leave your job. And when she said that, it was like confirmation of all the things that I had been feeling. So the next day I went in and spoke to my boss and I said, this is the last year that I'm able to do this. Here is why. And I explained to her everything that was going on. And I decided to leave my job and just focus on my business fully. What followed? What followed was kind of rough, I'm not gonna lie, because my business was not where it needed to be in order for me to take care of my family. It just wasn't there. But I had proven to myself and to my wife that I could make money. And it felt as if I had the time to fully invest in this business, I could make it into something bigger, something that would make significantly more money that I could make at my job as a teacher, as a professor. That is what I believed. So I left my job. And when I left my job, I remember I left my job the end of June. The 1st of July, rent was due and I didn't have it. And I didn't know where it was going to come from. But I had to get into hustle mode. So I got into hustle mode. And let me tell you, if I was busy before, that paled in comparison to the busyness that I was. I launched a membership site. I started doing coaching. I started creating more content. I started doing all these things. I started doing what I knew I needed to do in order to get the business to where I wanted it to go. Fortunately, at the end of that week, I miscalculated. I thought I was done getting paid, but at the end of that week, the Friday, I got one more paycheck and I was like, oh my goodness, I can pay rent. So I paid rent a little late, but I paid rent and I was in hustle mode. Like, we gotta figure this thing out now. And in figuring it out, I worked even harder. I'm leaving the job because I don't have time for my family. And now I'm working on this business and I have less time. Now, fortunately, within 4 months or so, I was able to match my salary as a professor, and then it just kind of continued from there. And throughout the years, I've had really significant ups and also significant downs, and it's been a rough journey, an exciting journey. All the feels, all the things that you can think of in terms of being an entrepreneur, that's how it's been, yo. But all along, for a significant period of time, I had this vision in my mind. I had this thing in my mind that you had to work like crazy in order to get ahead. You had to work like crazy in order to get to the place where you could take care of your family. And in that process, you're neglecting your family because you either can work hard or you can have time for your family. Now I question all of that. I question the validity of all of that. In fact, even in recent times, when things have gotten rough, I've decided that, yeah, I can work like a dog. I can work like crazy. I've proven that. I've done it multiple times. But it's not worth it. It is not worth it. It's not worth it if I have a spouse that's not getting my time. It's not worth it if I have kids that are not getting my time in the years that are so like crucial in their development. That's not worth it. And I made a decision like, no more am I going to do this kind of foolishness. No more am I going to believe the lie that I got to work like a dog at the expense of my family in order to get ahead. I want to have a successful business. I want to have a successful family. Which one do I choose? I choose both. I choose to work on building my business while prioritizing my family in a way where if I have to choose between my business and family, I always know that my family is more important to me and I act that way. And that doesn't mean that, if I'm in the middle of something extremely important for my business and my kids want to go and play, I'm going to drop everything that I'm doing in my business and go and play with the kids, even though sometimes I do that. But even in that situation, I know where my priorities lie. My priorities are, one, to have a healthy family, two, to have a healthy business. And the two are not mutually exclusive. We often get tied up in this idea of you have to choose this one or you choose this one. Do you want to be happy or do you want to make money? I want both. Do you want to have a happy family or a successful business? I want both. And by thinking that way and by thinking that both are possible, now it forces me to think about ways that I can do both. If I tell myself from the beginning, I got to choose one, it's going to be easy to choose one by default. And that's what I used to do. I used to choose business, business, business because I need to make money. Today, I choose business and family, or family first and business. So now I have to think of creative ways to make that possible. What if I involve my family in my business? What if it means that I have to have business within certain times, but when it's time for business, I need to be all about business and stop wasting time on social media browsing or whatever the case might be. It may mean that when I'm with my family, I am fully with my family and I'm fully engaged with them and I am not doing anything related to the business. Because I believe that both are possible, it forces me, it trains me to start thinking about ways to make them possible. I've come to realize that one of the big problems in society today is the breakdown of the family. Fathers are not there. In some cases, mothers are not there. We're so in this rat race and in the pursuit of upward mobility and becoming successful and all this kind of stuff that we neglect the people that we say are important to us. And I believe we're trained to think it's either or. I refuse to believe that now. I refuse to believe that it's either or. I refuse to believe that I have to choose. And if I have to choose, I'm going to choose both. So, we're going into a new year. I'm always looking for ways to grow. I'm always looking for ways to expand my positive footprint. I'm always looking for ways to grow my business. I'm always looking for ways to enhance my family life and my family experience. And I'm encouraging myself to not just stay where I am today, but to think about ways that I can grow when it comes to family. I can grow when it comes to business. I can grow when it comes to both. Some of the things, just some of the practical things that I've done is, I wake up early in the morning. I have my me time, my time where it's about, I do some meditation, I do my Bible study, I do some exercise, I do some reading, I do some writing, and so on and so forth. And then at 7 a.m., my kids come into my office. When my kids come into my office, I am done with everything. And that's when we start doing our thing. And I ask them how they're doing, and they say, better than stupendous. I ask, how did you sleep last night? Better than stupendous. My daughter usually comes in first, and we have that exchange. Then my son comes in. How you doing, Noah? Better than stupendous. How was your night? Better than stupendous. Unless they're not doing well. And if you ask my kids how they're doing, and they say something like, good, something is wrong. Like, oh shoot, things are good. Oh man, we gotta check on them and make sure everything is okay. Did you not sleep well? Are you feeling bad? We need to take your temperature. Things are just good. That's rough. That's the way it is in our house. So then we spend that time intentionally. We talk for a little while. We actually will then study the Bible before they have their breakfast, and they have their breakfast at 7:20. So those 20 minutes that we have together, we'll pray together, because these are priorities that I have with my family. For you, it might be that. For you, it might be something different. But those 20 minutes at the beginning of my day, no matter what is happening, unless I'm traveling. Actually, even when I'm traveling, a few months ago, I was in St. Martin, and I'm hiking in the hills at that time, and they will call me on FaceTime, and we will do the same thing. I will stop at the top of that mountain. I will get to the top of the mountain right before 7 o'clock, so that when they call me at 7 o'clock in the morning, they're going to get their daddy time, and we're going to do the same thing. How you doing? Better than stupendous. How was last night? Better than stupendous. And then we're going to go into our talk and our Bible and our prayer and all that stuff, because at that moment, they are the most important people to me on this planet. And that is possible because I am not accepting that it's either or. I am embracing the fact that I can do both and do them well. And as a result, I look for opportunities to make that a reality. And then they come home from school. I'm with them in the afternoons from 4 to 8 on Mondays and Wednesdays. And then on Fridays, we have like some family stuff that we do. We get together and we do we have our routines that we do that make it clear that family is important. Like, family is crucial. And those times that we have right now, regardless of what age your kids are at, those times that we have right now are so crucial, because we can never, ever get them back. So yes, I put my business before my family, and I did it for such a not that long, but I did it for years. And now I refuse to do it. I refuse to accept that reality. I am honored to be in a position where I can work from home and be at home where my family is at. I am honored that when they come home from school, they get to run into my office and we get to talk for a little bit. I'm honored that I get to spend the time with them and play games and talk about stuff. And that's one of the things I've been doing recently, is like, hey, you want to hang out? Yes, let's just sit down and talk. And we're going to talk about all the things that you care about. You want to talk about Minecraft? Let's talk about Minecraft. You want to talk about some interesting things on school? that happened at school? Let's talk about those things. You want to talk about a video you watched from Mr. Beast and the crazy stuff he was doing? He's like, you won't believe this. He did this and that. And I'm like, really? That is amazing. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Because I can have both. And I choose to have both. So we're going into a new year. As we go into this new year, I am thinking about ways that I can make both even more successful. I'm thinking about ways that I can enhance the experiences that I have with my kids. Like for right now on Sundays, Sundays are the day that I spend with them all day. No, I don't spend it with them all day, but I am responsible for them all day. So I do my mowing of the lawn. They have their iPad time on Sunday and they do their stuff for 2 hours. And then in the afternoon, we go to an indoor theme park. And we've been doing that almost every week for the last, I don't know how long now. But we have fun. We do laser tag. We do dodgeball on these trampolines, and we run up and down the maze and all this kind of stuff. And I'm a kid for a little while, because they're important to me. I want to encourage you, just like I'm encouraging myself. This is an area where we can always grow. I don't care what level that you're at. First of all, what are your values? What is important to you? Secondly, what are you spending your time on? So number one, what are your values? Number two, what are you spending your time on? And number three, does it add up? Does it make sense? Are you spending way too much time on your business? If so, I want to encourage you. I want to push you. I want to push you to think about how can you make your actions line up better with who you say you want to be or who you say you are. How can you make things line up even better? And if you are happy where things are in terms of the time you spend with your family and the time you spend on your business or the time you spend on your job or whatever the case might be, if you're happy with it, I want to challenge you even then. How can you make it even better? No, wait. How can you make it better than stupendous? That is a question about possibility. Because once you start asking that question and you explore it genuinely, you open up the world of possibility. And that's exactly what we should be trying to do. If you're not growing in life, it's like you're not even staying stagnant. You're dying. Like if you're not improving, here's the thing. The world is moving forward. So if you're staying the same, you're going backwards, relatively speaking, right? So wherever you are and where I am right now, the question is, how can I get a little better? How can you get a little better? That's the question that I want to challenge you as we're going into this new year. I want to challenge you to explore that, like genuinely and deeply. I want you to look at others who are doing certain things the way you would want them done. Other people that are spending time with their family in the ways that you would love to spend your time with your family. And learn, read some books, do whatever you have to do in order to get to a place. In order to continue growing. Yeah. So yes, I put my family before my business. I put my business before my family. That's what I used to do. Now, I put my family before my business. And that's what I constantly try to continue to do. And I want to encourage, listen, if you want to make a better world, make a better family. That sounds weird. Like you go and you make one. Hey, I'm going to go there and build a family. But essentially, that's what I want to encourage you to do. If everyone listening to this podcast were to work on what we do with our families and improve our families, that's going to be such a huge benefit to the societies that we live in. And that is how we change the world. So, I'm going to wrap things up, but I just want to challenge you. It's not either or, it's both and. And then I want to challenge you to think through ways that you can make that a reality. And in doing so, I want to ask you to come over and share what you can do to improve. All right, sounds good? I am LeslieSamuel.com/403. That is the link for this episode. Come on over and let's keep this conversation going. My name is Leslie Samuel from IamLeslieSamuel.com, where we're changing the world one person at a time. Until next time, take care. God bless. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And all that good stuff. And I'll see you next week.